The world could be a better place with love and unity. Together, we shall conquer the world. Linkway Diplomats is working to solve problems in needy areas such as water problem, community empowerment, community health, basic education, temporary shelters for homeless and travelers, rehabilitation and integration for inmates. Linkway Diplomats, linking people with people. Your community resource network.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Ima, and our program tonight is Linkway Heroes of Peace, an interfaith collaboration for global peace. My guest tonight is Daniel Adejo, the coordinating pastor of Royal Link Resource Development Center in Ogun State, southwestern Nigeria. Pastor Daniel, you're welcome to the program tonight. Thank you so much. Tonight we're going to talk about peace. And I want us to, there are so many questions that I'm going to put forward to you.
Okay.
And our audience are watching around the world. And I want you, to the best of your knowledge, to actually address all the questions that are going to be fielded to you.
Okay.
Based on what is going on around your community over there. Okay. Thank you. We're going to begin our program tonight, audience all over the world. We want to, Pastor Dan, to meet you. Who is Pastor Dan? Can you tell us in a few seconds?
Okay. I am Daniel Ibiloma Adejo. I'm the coordinating pastor of Royal Link Christian Resource Development Center in Ogun State, in Agbara, which is the outskirts of Lagos in Nigeria. I am an educationist, and myself and my wife, we coordinate Royal Signet College, which is a free tuition high school here in Nigeria, dedicated to taking care of the less privileged children and the orphans and so on. And I'm also an advocate of good governance and peace through basically a program we call the Think Nigeria Project. That program has been on since 2006. And God has been helping us through that program. And I'm also the country representative of Linkway Outreach Africa, a welfare group that meets the need of needy community in provision of water and so many other, welfare materials like food, food support, health support, and so on. I was born in September in 1970 in middle belt of Nigeria, and I live in the southwestern part of Nigeria. I think that's the way. I'm married with 5 children, 5 lovely children. I guess that's the much I can say for now.
Yeah, Pastor Dan, it's interesting to see that you are a peace advocacy individual in that part of the world that God has located you. Yeah. And I heard that you actually, managing a school that is tuition free, trying to give education need to the people that can afford to. But let me ask these questions.
Yes,
beyond providing education to people that can't ordinarily afford educations, the financing of educations.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about, the need? We are trying to establish the fact that the world needs peace.
Sure.
So how do you think, and you can have peace, a peaceful world without good leadership. How do you connect your school, to leaders, to political leaders that can deliver peace. When you meet the need of people, you give peace to them. But a country that is without justice, that is without fairness, that is without equity, it's just a breeding ground, for violence, which is opposite of peace. So how can you connect the student that you are leading there to be leaders of tomorrow?
All right. Thank God you made that last statement, leaders of tomorrow. We can go on and keep lamenting and keep complaining about the challenges, about the problems around us, the lack of peace and insecurity and insurgents. But the starting point is education. Now, most of the people that are giving the community big problems, most of the people that are creating lack of peace in the nation is because they make use of youth that are uninformed. They make use of youth that are uneducated. And the more we have large number of youth who are uninformed and uneducated, the better for the people who want to take away peace, because they are very vulnerable. And because this group of youth are very vulnerable, with as low as 100 naira, and I don't know how to equate that in dollar now. Let me say as low as 500 naira, and let me say that is $1, right? Let me take the exchange rate to be 500 naira to $1.
About that, yes.
About that. Now, for as low as $1, which is 500 naira, they can get this youth, because they are uninformed, to set up, to set a whole building on fire. And they will do it without having any remorse. So the best way to establish peace, especially in the future, because what we're doing in Royal Signet College is now working towards achieving peace in the future and hoping that God helps us to, wipe off what is happening around, but we need to build a future. In building the future, we need to build these children that are on the street, who cannot afford education, whose parents are unable, to send them to standard school, or who have lost their parents and do not have the finance or the fund to be able to fund their own education. Now, if they are not educated now, they become nuisance to the society tomorrow, and they create more havoc and more situations that will not allow us to have peace.
Interesting, absolutely. I agree with you on that. That an empty vessel, somebody who doesn't have education, could be used, because they say knowledge is power. If you don't have knowledge, another person can use you as a tool, to achieve their selfish, objective.
Interest.
But moving on from that, I want to go back to the family. What do you think are the responsibility, or is the responsibility of a family, in raising up children towards achieving a community and as well as a global peace?
Well, in this part of the world, and it may be global, but let me focus in what I know is like a norm in this part of the world. If a child misbehaves on the street in the community, they trace that child to the family. Just like, this joke, women believe that when a child is good, they say he's the father's son. And when the child is misbehaving, they will say, look at, they will look at the woman and say, woman, can you see your son? So in the same vein,
responsibilities to other people.
Oh, sure. So in the same vein, when a child begins to misbehave, it's traced to the family. People begin to ask questions. Which family is it from? And if a child is also behaving very well, people ask same question. Oh, which family is this from? And you will understand that when it comes to the issue of marriage. When a young man wants to pick a wife and he points at a lady, people are going to tell you, people in that community will tell you if he is recommended to marry that lady or not, based on the family he's coming from. So it is the family responsibility to build up the character of a child to reflect peace. And it starts from the home. So if the child is at peace with himself, because he can feel love, he feels loved by his father, loved by his mother, loved by his siblings, he goes out, he will reflect that same love. But if a child grows up in a family where he feels unloved by the father, unloved by the mother, or even the siblings, the child goes out and does not have love to transmit. It's just like we say, God is love. So everything around God is love. But Satan does not have love in his dictionary. So everything he breeds is lack of love. It's the same thing. So when a family brings up their children, when they bring up their children in the direction of peace, those children go to the society, they reflect the same peace. But when they don't know what peace means, when they grow up in a family where the father is always battering the mother, where the mother is always nagging the father, when every day someone must fight in the home, when it gets to the community, you reflect that same thing. And that is why the home is the foundation of peace. Whether in the church, in the school, in the society, it is usually traceable first and foremost to the home.
Yeah, Pastor Dan, you have done a very great job on this family raising of peaceful children that transcend to peaceful community. But let me actually dwell on family as the unit of our communities.
Okay.
I understand you have been married for a long time now, at least 2 decades
23 years by November.
23 years by November. So you must be an authority in marriage counseling. So I'm going to ask you this question because, again, family and marriage, it stays at the centrality of community. And if you get it right from the family level, you could get it right at the community level and at the global level as well. There are so many, marriages is all about bringing two people, maybe from different background, different, character traits, and coming together. Yes. So most of the time it's not very easy for you to expect, all is well in average marriage all the time.
Oh, yes.
And I can tell you that all over the world, there are so many marriages that are just there. And
crumbling.
They are just sitting on what they call keg of gunpowder that can explode at any time. So what's your advice to this marriage in terms of forbearance, in terms of creating an atmosphere to raise good children for peaceful communities?
Fortunately, or do I say unfortunately, do you know, I can trace this back to the family as well. Marriage is about two individuals with two different backgrounds coming together, fusing their background, and trying to create a new atmosphere for one another. And because they are coming from two different backgrounds, if both of them have not learned tolerance, have not learned long-suffering, have not learned negotiation, peaceful negotiation, and do not understand what peace and forgiveness is all about, that marriage is bound to fail. And why will it fail? Because without these basic things I have mentioned, everyone will be rooting for self. Every decision each of the couple will make will root for self. And in any marriage where the individuals are rooting for self instead of us, when it becomes I instead of we or us, then it's a big problem. When it becomes it's my money, oh, it's my room, oh, it's my this, it's my that. When the marriage takes that direction, then know that it's bound to crash. So these two people must learn to tolerate one another. But that tolerance, the root of it also is from the family. Now it becomes easy for you to understand the next person, to understand your spouse, and be able to tolerate your spouse if right where you were brought up in your family, you were taught to tolerate your younger brother or your elder brother or your even your twin. I have a set of twins, and I can tell you that even among twins, there can be real issue of intolerance. A situation where someone puts on something, and usually by global belief, you buy them similar things or things that look alike. This one picks this one, say, no, it's mine. You say, no, yours has this, and say, no, it's mine. And they cannot tolerate one another. And that is why when the home begin to teach tolerance, begin to teach, consideration of the other person, begins to teach selflessness in the sense of, okay, let me forgo, let me forbear. Until the family unit begin to teach this thing, it becomes a problem for any marriage to survive. Because most people come into the marriage believing that I am here so that the other person can add value to my life. Many people don't go into marriage believing that my principal, goal going into this marriage is to add value to the life of the person that I'm coming to meet. And that is a basic issue.
Yeah, Pastor Dan, thank you so much. We want to move that one to another very, very important factor of the community. But before I move from there, I want to ask you these questions. What's your advice? I know that the legacy of every family is to have children that will do well out there.
Oh, sure.
Responsible children in the communities, in the societies.
Yes.
But I want to ask you this question. What's your advice, for the families that now, maybe the spouses that have children, that are now, saying that enough is enough, they can't stay together again, they want to part. But in the light of the children, what's your advice for them in the interest of the children? Because we found out that in every 2 out of 3 children that are from a broken or a divorced marriage, they have, mental problem like depression, like, some other problems like that, emotional problem and things like that. What's your advice to these people that are already turning their back on marriages, because there is no more, there is no more space again within them for forbearing and all that. And they just want to walk away from this marriage. But the children are going to be, at the receiving end of this behavior and this character. What's your advice?
Well, frankly speaking, when any marriage gets to this point, it takes the grace of God. It actually takes the grace of God. And from my experience counseling, some couples, married couples, and intervening in some marriage issues over the years, I realized that before it gets to that point, the foundation is already crashed. And, as much as we are not here to preach, the Bible actually says that once a foundation is destroyed, even the righteous cannot do anything about a foundation that has been destroyed. The truth is, there is no way that such a couple can come together again except they decide that they want to turn a new leaf. And by turning a new leaf, they need an external, invisible hand to help them. And this is talking about God, actually. You understand? They need God. They need the Spirit of God. Why? The only way they can come back together is to learn to forgive one another. But forgiveness itself comes from a spirit, right? It's just like hatred comes from a spirit. Violence is directed by certain spirits. You understand? In the same vein, forgiveness and tolerance that I mentioned earlier also comes from a spirit. And until they get to a point where they have agreed that, you know what, we need to allow this to work for the purpose of our children. Now, the stark reality, my advice to them is that, please, do you love your children? If you love your children, can you do anything to ensure that your children have a great future, are at peace, and will not go into the society with broken heart and broken life, such that they no longer trust anybody? Because one of the effects of that is that many of them are afraid to get married because of, their background, what they have seen happen between their parents. So they are afraid to even venture into marriages. And you see, as much as they love to not to be alone, to be partnered with someone, but they look back and say, is it going to be the way my mother and my father, live? If that's the case, no, I'm not interested in marriage. But my advice for them is, please, put away your shame. Put away your pride. Because you see, this issue of, I can't do it anymore, if you check deep down, is on the foundation of the spirit of pride. For many, they find it difficult to even apologize, even when they are wrong. And the Bible teaches me, and I do it, even when I'm not wrong, I apologize. Pastor, let me share something with you that is at the foundation of my own marriage. Before we went to the altar, my wife told me, she said, look, I like being petted. I like being petted. So when I'm wrong, say sorry. When you are wrong, say sorry. I don't know if you get what I just said.
That's interesting. I'm getting it. You just want to make ourselves known unto you, her strength and our weakness before you get into that union. And nothing will take you by surprise.
Look, say sorry to me whether I am wrong or right.
Yeah.
And I said,
That's
okay.
being truthful down to the earth.
No problem. Do you know, for the first 5 years of our marriage, first 5 years, I consistently say sorry. When I'm wrong, I say sorry. When I'm right, and I know obviously I am right, and even my wife knows she is wrong and I am right, I still say the sorry. Until one day, I was about leaving for the office. I was still working in the bank then. And I was about leaving for the office in the morning, and we had a little issue. And on my way out, I turned to her. After I had apologized, as I have been doing for the past 5 years. And then I said, all right, have a wonderful day. I'm off to work. Hope to see you when I return. Then I said, by the way, my lovely wife, do you know I am human? And because I am human, sometimes I need to hear the story myself. Sometimes
You need to
I
hear
just
what now?
need, I said, I need to hear the sorry from you.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
Sometimes, because I am human. Now, I've been saying sorry for
That's
the
right.
past 5 years, but do you know it would be lovely if I can hear sorry from you, even if it's once?
That's interesting.
So I left for the office. And by the time I returned in the evening, I saw all over her that obviously she had cried through the day because she was at home. She wasn't working then. She said she had cried through the day. And I asked, what happened? I was so worried. What happened? Anyone hurt you? You had any problem? Any call that is anything wrong with any of our family members? She said, no. I said, what's the issue? He said, you said something before you left this morning. I said, wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I said anything to hurt you.
Yes.
She said, no, 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 no. And immediately she went on her knee that day and said, I'm really sorry. And I said, what? What did you do? He said, I'm sorry that I made you to say sorry all these years, even when you were right. I said, no, 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 that's not an issue. He said, no, 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 you're right. You're human. Now, if I did not endure those 5 years, and now if you take 5 from 23, you come to about, is it 18 years? I mean, that's about 18 years. So for the past 18 years, I've enjoyed peaceful sorry from my wife. But if I had fought her from the beginning, and I was talking about pride, and I said, because I am the man, how dare you tell me to say sorry when I am wrong? I mean, even when I am right. And that pride would have, do you know it's capable of breaking the home? Why? Because instead of dealing with her weakness, I will then be feeding her weakness. And I'm supposed to deal with her weakness and feed her strength. Yes. So if I had countered her, I would have been feeding her weakness, and she will get weaker and weaker until it gets to a point she will say to me, I can't stand this anymore. No matter the number of children we have had, she will say, look, yes, I know I could stay for the children, but I cannot tolerate you. I have to go. I'm sorry. And that's the only thing the children will get.
So the lesson, Pastor, that we have to, learn from that,
yes.
Every member of this union has to learn how to say sorry so that we can get sorry back. I mean, it's a great lesson for our audience tonight because nobody is perfect. You can be wrong. You cannot be right all the time. So you should learn how to apologize, to continue in that relationship. We are going to go on a break now. And when we come back, we are going to move from the family, to our faith community leaders, the responsibilities of our faith community leaders in the maintenance of peace in our communities and the global arena at large. And we'll be back in a moment.
All right.
Do you want to live stream your seminars, workshops, funeral, conferences, blogs, or interviews on your Facebook page or your own YouTube channel? Offstage Pass can do just that. Call us today at 678-480-1161 or visit our website at www.offstagepass.com for more information.
The world could be a better place with love and unity. Together, we shall conquer the world. Linkway Diplomats is working to solve problems in needy areas such as water problem, community empowerment, community health, basic education, temporary shelters for homeless and travelers, rehabilitation and integration for inmates. Linkway Diplomats, linking people with people. Your community resource network.
Welcome back, our audience. We are on Linkway Heroes of Peace, an interfaith collaboration for global peace. And our guest tonight has been talking to us about how we can maintain and enduring peace in our communities and at the global stage is Pastor Daniel Adejo. He is the coordinating pastor of Royal Link Resource Development Center in Ogun State, southwestern Nigeria. Pastor Dan, welcome to the program. Welcome back.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
now, before we went on break, we were talking about the responsibility, the contribution of a family unit to the peace of the communities and at the global stage. But now we want to move on to the responsibilities, because we know that peace in our communities, actually the responsibilities of our leaders, especially our faith community leaders, talking about pastors, imams, and other religious that are there, their leaders. What do you think, or what do you expect, in your own opinion, that are supposed to be the responsibilities of these leaders in the maintenance of peace in our communities?
All right. I want to respond to this by recalling an incident as well. That happened at about 2006 when we were led to begin the Vision Think Nigeria project. As at that time, the ministry was just about 6 months. And as I was looking up to God for direction, he actually made it clear to me that I wasn't meant to open churches all over the world, branches of churches all over the world, but that harness the people, bring them together for the purpose of the land. And that is why, he gave me that, that theme, Think Nigeria. Now, I was so excited, and I wrote letters, which I went round faith leaders within our community in Okoko area of Lagos State. Then we have not moved to Ogun State as at that time. I was so excited, and I went round. I was issuing them this pamphlet and telling them, this is what is led in my spirit. Please, can we come together so that we can pray for Nigeria, so that, irrespective of what denomination you belong to and all that, but something happened. The first meeting we had for Think Nigeria, I had so many pastors coming together. But when they got the vision and that the focus is on peace for the nation, peace for the land, peace advocacy, by the next meeting, many of them fixed, because we usually have vigil, prayer vigil. But in that vigil, we are not looking at individual need. We are not looking at maybe family need. We are looking at the need of the land, the need of the nation. Do you know that many of them adjusted their church vigil to coincide with our Think Nigeria vigil, so that their members will not attend? Yes. This is a practical experience. They stopped coming, and they ensured, when they stopped coming, some of their members were attending. So few months later, I discovered that many of those people were not coming again. And when I saw a couple of them, what happened? We're not seeing you in the interdenominational program. Think Nigeria is for the peace of this nation. It's for us to move this nation forward. He said, yes, Pastor, we know. But our church, they have now fixed our own vigil to the same weekend. So I cannot leave our church to come for your. Now, when it becomes our versus your, then the center can no longer hold. Everyone is rooting for himself. Every faith leader is rooting for himself. And because it has become a self thing, is affecting the foundation of peace in the nation. this whole thing about peace is our peace, not my peace, not your peace. If it's your peace, then I don't care what happens to it. If it's my peace, you won't care what happens to my peace. But if it's our peace, we will not allow our peace to be destroyed. Because once our peace is destroyed, we are both destroyed. Now, most of our faith leaders have not come to that understanding. And that is why we are having issues at the community level as a result of faith leaders not having understanding that this peace we seek is our peace, not my peace and not your peace. I may sound philosophical or maybe speaking
I got your point.
I
got your point, Pastor Dan. But the thing that is most interesting there, God is a God of unity.
Sure.
God does not condone division. God will not intervene in any problem of any country or any community that is divided.
Yes.
That's why you say that if you pray in unity, your prayers could be fast answered. But let me go back to this point, because when you're talking about division within the faith community, it becomes very difficult for me to move to the next point I want to make. But let me just make that point here.
Yeah.
We just said, and you and I agree that, where needs are not met, then you condition, the citizens, to get into violence and criminalities.
Yes.
And this rob people of their own peace, because where in the communities where, criminalities and violence, prevail, there will be no peace to that communities. So let me say this, the faith, every faith community believes that there is God. What they are teaching there, they are teaching the values of God. And values of God, you cannot establish any value of God without peace. Because, in the faith that I belong to, and since it's an interfaith collaboration, I don't want to go to be biased with faith. But the scripture say that, God is peace. And it's supposed to be peaceful. Anything about God is supposed to be peaceful. Anything about God is supposed to be good. So if the faith leaders are causing, are teaching, are promoting division, so where are we today? Could there be anything good that will come from our faith community? But anyway, let me move forward with these questions.
Yeah.
Politicians are the custodians of the resources of every nation, every community, so that they can divide it, distribute the resources with three principles: equity, justice, and fairness. And these things cannot be found in people without having knowledge of justice, equity, and fairness. And this knowledge, we all know that is God that gives this knowledge to people. And our faith communities are the teachers, promoters about things about God qualities. Now, my question is this: what do you think? What is your advice for our faith communities who have demonized politics? And politicians are the ones that are that are the custodians of the resources to be distributed with these three principles that I have mentioned. So it's a skill. So, if they don't teach this, where can we get, from where are we going to get people that will have these skills of righteousness that, that manifest in equity, justice, and fairness? How can we, get this kind of people that will distribute the resources that are meant for the citizens?
Okay. Let me just draw inference from what I said earlier. In actual sense, when a faith leader is called, he is called to give what he's been given. Now, the scripture says, my peace I give unto you. That's what God has. At every point that a faith leader is called, he receives peace from God. Now, as he's been given, he is expected to give out. So this whole thing about peace comes from God to the faith leader and is expected to move from the faith leader to the people. Now, if that transition happens seamlessly, you and I won't be having this long conversation tonight. If it happens seamlessly, all we would be doing is celebrating it and say, oh, indeed,
That's right. That's
yes, right. we have peace in this nation. Even the 2023 election, we are not afraid, because we know there is peace. We know it can never end up in violence. Why? Because everyone is at peace. You may not like my candidate, I may not like your candidate, but that does not take away the fact that we are at peace with one another. It's like a game. Anyone can lose it, and then we shake hands and say, okay, you beat me this time, but no problem. Tomorrow is another chance. But that's not what we have. Why is it not what we have? Because as many of the faith leaders receive this peace from the source of their calling, they don't follow the direction to give it out based on the instructions they have been given. But there is no way we can have peace if the faith leaders fail to give the peace to the people in terms of teaching the people to be at peace first and foremost with themselves. Secondly, with their family. And the family could be biological, it could be spiritual. And with their community. So it can be someone out there, he's not related to you either spiritually, and he's not related to you biologically, but is within your community. We are expected to be at peace with your community. First, yourself. Second, your family. Third, your community. Then your nation. Let me tell you, because many people are struggling with even this peace thing. And you see why the faith leaders are occupying a very strong position is that there are people who will do nothing except they hear from their faith leaders, including even who to elect. There are people right now who have not made up their mind in spite of all the debates going on. I mean, the campaign moves going on, although the original campaign will start on the 28th of September for the Nigerian presidential election or general election for next year, which is in 2 days' time, right? However, there are so many media awareness being created and all over. By now, many people have, some people have made up their mind who they should follow. But there are people who have not bothered to even analyze the candidate, and they will never analyze the candidate. Why? They are waiting for when their faith leader will say, I have heard from God, and this is who to follow. Even if they didn't hear from God, and they make that statement, a whole load of people are hanging out there to follow. Now, if they have such power, that's to tell you the power they have to promote peace. Because if they say, look, be at peace with your brother, that other pastor there is not our enemy. He holds an interdenominational program. You are free to attend, and you will see that there will be unity, there will be togetherness, and it is promoted by the faith leaders. And until, as faith leaders, we carry this responsibility, it affects everything.
Pastor Dan, it's interesting, we value our time with you tonight, and for myself as an individual, I have learned a lot of things, from the family through the communities to the faith communities. I've learned a lot of things. I'm going to ask you one question before we go to our final break for tonight. Yeah. And that question is this. I'm going to the point that you say that many voters and many electorate have not decided. Yeah. And they are waiting for the time that their faith leaders will give that prophetic statement
Yes.
that this is the right person to vote for. I'm wondering why, and I'm asking this question because Linkway has a mission project that, it carries out in Africa. Linkway diplomats in North America coordinate with Linkway Outreach Africa, to do our projects in Africa. And we want an atmosphere of peace for us to be able to thrive in our mission field. And that's why I'm very curious about some certain things that are actually happening over there in that country of Nigeria.
Yeah.
The question is this. The faith leaders, are interested, their membership or parishioners, they put that trust in them, waiting for them to hear from them. Why are they playing spectating role? That this is the person to follow, and they don't hear from God concerning an individual that is even a member of the parishioner, that have been they have imbibed into him the qualities of goodness, the qualities of God, the qualities of peace and all that as faith preaches. Why will they say somebody outside and God is revealing to them somebody is outside? By the way, we have had a lot of those prophecies, and in the end, they don't happen that way. Sure. So my question is that, couldn't the faith leaders integrate, politics, political leadership training into their curriculum like they do Sunday schools, Bible studies and all that, so that they can provide these skills, bring in, politicians into the household of God to hold seminar for them, how they can raise up, leaders from within. And these leaders already, they have loaded, imbibed in them the qualities of goodness, how to distribute the resources that belong to a nation with the spirit of righteousness, which is this equity, justice, and fairness that we're talking about. Why outside?
Well, the issue of politics and faith, from my experience in Nigeria especially, and I know it cuts across many, nations of Africa, and perhaps in some nations of the world. It's not a digression, but I just want to pick it from one end. It's just like when you want to take care of the youth and you try to make the youth to abstain from sex, right? But the youth are very vulnerable when it comes to sexuality. And then you say sex should not be talked about in the church. But right under your nose, in the choir, in the drama group, sex is being practiced. But it's a taboo to be talked about. That's exactly what is happening to politics. Politics is not to be talked about in the church. We are not supposed to align ourselves behind anybody, even when God clearly states to you as a faith leader that, look, this is my choice, but you rather not talk about it. You quote it and leave your flock out there wandering in the desert, not knowing what direction to take, even when you have clearly heard from God. You're not taking a position. It's either due to fear, or some is due to the fact that he who pays the piper dictates the tone. You must have collected something here and there that makes sure that your mouth is shut. So that is basically the issue. The faith leaders are not bold to let the people know that faith and politics integrate. And until we make it clear that there's an integration between faith and politics, it becomes difficult for us to move forward. Why? Like I said, most of the congregation are, let me use the word, vulnerable in their followership. Whatever their faith leader has said is the gospel, right? But even God has element of politics. He chose Jacob over Esau. even while they were still in the mother's womb. He made his choice and he did not hide it. He came out plainly to say, look, the younger will rule over the elder will serve the younger. And it came out and it happened that way. And he even said it to the mother while the twin were still in the womb. So God is not averse to taking a political position. So why are we as faith leaders averse to taking a political position or even making our people to go into politics? And that is why we have so many people who are taught righteousness, who, imbibe the quality of equity and justice, but they are afraid even to vie for a political position. Why? Because we have painted politics as dirty game. And because it's dirty, we are too righteous to touch anything dirty. Meanwhile, that dirty game rules our life from start to finish. That's what I see as the basic issue.
Yeah, we cannot overemphasize the importance of, our faith leaders, trying to redress, the importance of giving skills, political skills, if it requires contracting out to the politicians that we trust to come in and give that skills so that we can have more internal candidates that will contest for all these posts. I believe with that, there will be a kind of divine revolution. You can stay back, enough of staying back without action, and begin to criticize, and begin to say, you shouldn't participate in partisan politics. And sometimes, even the faith leaders, they go around, to wine and dine with these politicians that are outside, and they say they are dirty, kind of encouraging them in whatever they are doing. I believe now is the time, for us. And I was very, very pleased that I had one of the faith leaders in Nigeria celebrated his 3 decade and 10, and he was talking about, starting a school of government. I want to believe that this will bring a turnaround in our political revolution in that part of the country. And again, because his Linkway actually do a lot of mission project there. And I know there are some other missionaries also that actually go through Linkway platform, to execute their projects. And I believe without peace, nothing can happen. So we will come back.
We have that peace.
Yeah, we will go on break, and when we come back, that is going to be the final, segment of this episode. I'm going to ask you a question about what is your own opinion about, building up to 2023 election. What is going to be your advice, to the people as to maintaining peace, to create an atmosphere for good and smooth transition into good governance. Our audience, don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you.
The world could be a better place with love and unity. Together, we shall conquer the world. Linkway Diplomats is working to solve problems in needy areas such as water problem, community empowerment, community health, basic education, temporary shelters for homeless and travelers, rehabilitation and integration for inmates. Linkway Diplomats, linking people with people. Your community resource network.
Welcome, everyone. You are still on to Linkway, Heroes of Peace, an interfaith collaboration for global peace. And my guest here tonight is Pastor Daniel Adejo. He is the coordinating pastor for Royal College, Royal Link Resource Development Center that is located in Ogun State, southwestern Nigeria. Pastor Dan, you're welcome to the final segment of our program tonight. In 1 or 2 minutes, I want you have said a lot of things, then we are dwelling on peace. And like I said, the Nigerian or the African in diaspora, they love their home, their homeland.
Yeah.
And one thing that is actually a deterrent, to them, participating in the activities in the homeland is this lack of peace, a lot of insecurity here and there. I know all nations of the world, they're experiencing insecurities, but I mean, we are just talking about our mission field, which is Nigeria today. We'll have another opportunity to talk about the whole world, different part of the world, different continent of the world. But today we are dwelling on Africa and with the focus on Nigeria. Building up to 2023 elections, what is your advice? We know that the youths are there. And we saw what happened during the ENSAS and all that.
Yeah.
So what is going to be your advice, for everyone, whether it's the youth, the adults, the children, everyone, every stakeholder in this particular time? What's your advice for us in terms of maintenance of peace? I know when you maintain peace, you create an atmosphere for good election, for smooth transition, and smooth transition into good governance that will deliver peace unto the citizens. Tell us, what is your opinion in terms of creating a peaceful atmosphere building up to 2023 election?
All right. Before now, as we were approaching this 2022 and looking at transition to 2023, new governance or new government in place in Nigeria, there has been this fear about, will there be election at all? Will violence not, overshadow every of the electioneering process? That has been, serious concern. And I would like to say, for peace to reign in Nigeria as we approach the 2023 election, and the campaign is starting in 2 days, 28th of September. First, family. Let every family draw their children, especially their youth, together and let them know that, look, the electing a single person into the position does not deserve the sacrifice of your blood. I mean, your blood shouldn't be the prize for someone getting to a position. So don't allow yourself to be used as a political thug. Every family must draw their children together and let them be aware of the situation leading to, because before now, what is always leading to violence during election is, I talked about not being informed and ignorance. The politicians will, give out some token to this youth, and then they go either, disrupting the campaign of their opposition or even outrightly planning assassination. And they use this youth, you understand? So first and foremost, the parents, the family unit must draw their children together and educate them on how to comport themselves during this election. Then the faith leaders must learn to tell the people the truth. Tell your people the truth. God is an advocate of politics. Yes.
Sir.
They have stayed away, shied away from it over the years. Let them know that they cannot continue to shy away from it and expect peace to be. I remember, time is against us. I would have shared what a lecturer told us when I was in ABU Zaria, because many of us were too holy to go for NANS meeting, the students' meeting. But each time they hold a student congress, very few of them, maybe like 10% of the student population, But once they make a decision from there and they say, we'll make this school ungovernable for the VC, and they start rioting, the school is closed. The 90% that did not go because they feel that these are troublemakers will end up packing their load and going home. Why? Because 10% of the students came together and took a decision. And then the lecturer said, but if all of you attend NANS meeting, when they are voting, when your voice overshadows those who are saying, let us riot, and you are saying, no, let's write our exam. When your voice overshadows, then they will not be able to carry on with. And that's exactly what is happening. If the faith leaders will not encourage their people that they have taught equity, they have taught justice, and they have taught peace to go out there and mingle with the people out there, then the few out there will always take the decision. They will always place people over us. So it is time for faith leaders to tell their people to come out. Then on the part of government, be sincere with yourself. Don't selfishly try to create a space for one person at the detriment of the peace of the land. If you are about to leave, then the greatest legacy you can leave behind are not the bridges you have built, are not the roads that you have made. Yeah, they are not. They are your legacy is the kind of government you left behind you. Because if you bring in someone who eventually destroys even what you have built, then you are the failure. You are the failure. You have failed. So let the government be sincere and allow equity to reign. A playing field, you understand, for all the candidates to express themselves, to sell their manifesto, and let the people buy them by the reason of what they have to offer, by the reason of their competence, and not use the state apparatus like the military and the police force, to force people to vote a particular candidate, or to disrupt people from voting when they know that their own, candidates are not favored. Mostly what is done is that they use the state apparatus to disperse people so that they will not be able to vote. But I am an advocate of peace, and I believe that we are heading the right direction. We are praying, and apart from praying, I am one of the pastors that is saying enough is enough of running away from politics. That politics is part of our daily life. In the family, there is politics. In the community, there is politics. In the church, there is politics. Why then can't we be part of the national politics?
Thank you so much, Pastor Dan. I don't think there is no way any resource person can break this segment down the way you broke it down tonight. And I want to end, with this. Is a book of faith say that let anyone that has an ear hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. And I know that our audience are actually very smart, and they are hearing what the Spirit is saying to the churches tonight. And I know that we will learn a lesson. And with God, we believe that Nigeria, our mission ground, will have a very, very peaceful atmosphere that will actually, that good transition will thrive into good governance come February or May 2023. And we will praise the Lord. We will celebrate Heroes of Peace at that night. My name is Daniel Ima, and I'm the coordinator for Linkway North America. God bless you. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.
The world could be a better place with love and unity. Together, we shall conquer the world. Linkway Diplomats is working to solve problems in needy areas such as water problem, community empowerment, community health, basic education. temporary shelters for homeless and travelers, rehabilitation and integration for inmates. Linkway Diplomats, linking people with people. Your community resource network.